already. They're probably looking at us going,
I
what?
think we're live.
You think we're live? No, no.
I
Here
think
we
we
go.
are.
This is how I'm checking. No, it's setting up our meeting Facebook Live. But no, usually that's what's happening. It's redirecting us. We're going to see if we're live. I'm going to keep looking. Oh, there we are. Hello.
Yeah.
All right. So now I got to get out of this thing. Oh, there we are. All right. Woo. So we did it.
Yay.
Laura Warren. And thank you so very much for joining all of us tonight at the Spirit Activator Academy. This is the special guest activator series. If you can imagine, we've only been up and running for 2 weeks. I know it's sort of crazy, but when you get light workers together and they have a mission, you know what I mean? It's like, boom, we're going to make
everything comes together.
Yeah. And it's really awesome because what we've noticed is that the community of, enlightened community, the spirit community, the healer community, they're all really excited to share all the information that, we usually in so many ways. It's like this age that we're in now, people don't mind talking about it. Before, we're burned at the stake and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like, let's share it. And so thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I just want to welcome all our guests that are popping on. And if you're catching us for the replay, if you're in for a wild ride, so it's going to be great. So hook on your seatbelt and we're gonna get going here. So Laura Warren, she is a psychic medium. Am I right to say that, Laura?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so we're going to get into some stuff tonight that I'm going to ask you some deep questions that everybody's burning to know, right?
So, deep questions.
I know. So first off, do you live in New Brunswick? Do you live in New Brunswick area?
Actually, I live in Prospect Bay, Nova Scotia.
Oh, do you really? For some reason, I don't know why you had some connection to some of my light workers in New Brunswick.
Lots of connection to New Brunswick. And I've spent a lot of the last 4 years in New Brunswick, but technically I still live in Nova Scotia. So
that's great. No, you can't go wrong with Prospect. That's great. That's a beautiful. Are you on the water there? And
yes.
So nice. I think all of us, we like that, the ocean. It's very luring and drawing for us and stuff.
I feel very safe here. I couldn't be anywhere else but by the ocean. So
I know that's how it's, you come from the East Coast and right now you're hearing about out west. It's like, it's minus 42. And I'm like,
thank you.
I did not wear gloves today. It's great. No, it's great. So thank you very much for joining us. And I just wanted to get people in the mindset here. This is a lot of our group workers that we do within our group. We have different intuitive skills and all that. And, Jessica, our Divine Dawning Angel, she's definitely is developing her psychic medium ability. She's been working on that. She's got some really good gifts with that. And as you know, I guess launching into that, when you first knew that you had the gift, like what would you say is the first time you're like, well, that was kind of odd. What's going on there? Who am I talking to? How'd that work for you?
I think it was a little bit of a process for me because I had, looking back on some of the things that happened to me when I was a kid, I know exactly what it is now, but didn't really have any frame of reference for it. So I really feel for and connect with kids that are going through this because they sometimes don't have the support or they don't have the understanding within their friends or family how to help them through this. So I was the kid that went through all these things, but tried not to tell too many people or tried not to let it show because I was scared that it wasn't okay. And because I grew up in kind of like with the church and kind of that background, I was told that if anything was happening to me that I didn't like, I could pray and ask it to go away. And so many times I did ask it to go away. And then in my late 20s, my great grandmother came back to me in spirit and told me that if I didn't develop this gift, that I was going to have a really hard time managing it. I was going to have a hard time managing my life and I just wouldn't feel right. And sometimes because she had some mental health issues, I took her seriously. I thought, okay. She was a tea leaf reader herself and she couldn't do it for very long. She found it too overwhelming. But then because she shut down her gift and wouldn't accept that part of her life, she had a really hard time. So that's kind of how I started out. there was lots of different events as a kid, but like I said, I didn't really know what it was. So I really have a passion now for helping other people that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, it can be a confusing time for people, right?
Yeah.
And when you say when you were younger, would you say that you could see the spirits or you could just hear them when you were younger, or how did it start for you? What was the process?
Really, it was I used to hear them,
Hmm.
but as a kid I didn't understand what was happening and couldn't piece it all together. And then I had knowing, what I call a knowing about certain people and events and things, and that developed into lots of other things. So when people come see me and I can tell that they've had some intuitive experiences or some psychic experiences, that's how it starts with a lot of people. It's just a knowing, so they understand or they know that something is going to happen to somebody, or that somebody is sick, or that somebody's pregnant, or whatever. That's usually how it starts with people.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a rumbling that that starts for sure.
Yeah.
And so was your grandmother, so she read tea leaves.
Mm.
And so would you say she was identified to you as growing up as being a psychic, or was it just like your crazy grandmother out there reading tea leaves, like,
Yeah,
oh
well,
God.
it's funny because I never knew that she read tea leaves until I
Hmm.
was much older. And then when I started doing readings, and Spirit had kind of pushed me and guided me and taught me how to do this, because I didn't know what else to do. And I had a friend at the time who was going through something similar, so we helped each other develop our gifts. But I didn't know until later that there was people in my family that read cards and tea leaves and all kinds of things. And I have it mostly on my mom's side, but on both of my grandparents' sides, there's some psychic ability that was sort of there, but nobody would talk about it. So it was
Yeah.
like I was the one that I stepped out of the crowd, and then everybody felt like it was okay to tell me, I guess, because I didn't know before then. So
But it was scarier times because a lot of times, I mean, the mental health unknowns back then, it could be like, oh, you should be medicated, or, you have to go, lose some friends or family members kind of disengage with you a little bit. And
yeah,
the risk of that, I'm sure, was great. And that
yeah.
probably was a driving factor in that. And did you feel like when you came to your family and said, I see spirits and I'm not going to deny it anymore. Like, here it is. Did you think, I'm not going to be going to Sunday suppers anymore? I'm just laying it out there.
Well, on one side of it, I was really lucky because at the time my in-laws were really accepting, and they really helped me and kind of made me feel like this was all okay because it was just a part of me. My parents had a harder time, I guess, adjusting to it, but it's okay now. I find they just maybe don't quite understand what I do, but they respect what I do. So it's all okay now. But in the beginning, it was a little hard. I felt really lonely,
Yeah.
but also over time, I have realized that I had to go through it that way so I could understand what other people feel like too. Because there's a lot of people that are ostracized from their family because they're different. It doesn't have to be anything to do with having a psychic ability. So it was an important experience. But no, everybody seems to have come around, and I've been doing this now for almost 14 years. So
Long time, eh?
yeah.
It goes quick. It goes quick. You don't realize it's like, boom, 14
I
years.
know.
God. And we're all in denial of those 14 years. I'm like, Jesus, I'm pretty sure it was only 2 years, but I still have all that 14-year knowledge,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it just
yeah.
looks like it's only been 2 years. So when you would go to suppers for the family, where they're like, okay, who's here? Who's visiting us? Is it like, is Nan here tonight? Should we set an extra plate? Like, was it kind of like funny at first, and then they
Oh
just kind of
yeah,
like
and
slided
it
in?
still happens. It
Does
still
it?
happens. Oh
Oh
yeah. I get
God.
phone calls from people. They're like, "Hey, you want to come over?" And I think I'm coming over for a visit, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? There was somebody here last night, and I couldn't see them, and they were walking around up and down the hallway. Can you see them? Do you know who it
Oh
is?"
my
So
gosh.
yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah, that is one of the hard parts I will say about being like, because my whole family are gifted like that. My sister's a psychic medium, Sherry Donovan, and then I have this clear knowing. But when you find people, you have to discern. Your friends are like, okay, I just really just want to come over for a cup of tea tonight. I don't want to talk about anything in your future,
Yeah.
your past, or I just want to sit down and I had like just a friend
Yeah.
time, right? So it is hard because they're so curious when people don't know and you're sitting there and you know they're thinking about it, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, you're like, oh my gosh, you know,
Yeah.
what's happening here? And do you find like, does that kind of, I know because it plays into it in some circles and stuff for me, but does it play in for you? Do you feel like, oh God, if I go there tonight, I'm definitely gonna have to do a reading and it's like they're gonna know?
Well, I'm careful about it. I'm more careful than I was. When this all first came about and I was doing readings, I didn't understand that I couldn't say certain things in certain circles or I couldn't do certain things. And you get caught up in all of this. And I
Yeah.
was never the center of attention. So all of a sudden I'm everybody's best friend and it
Yeah.
gets to your head a little bit. So I got, I got a little bit slapped by the universe because when this all was kind of coming about, I had a group of friends that was really into this and they really wanted to know things all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that alcohol and readings don't mix.
Oh, they definitely don't. It's the lowest
that was
vibration from
that was number
vibrational
one,
therapy.
right?
Yeah.
And then I realized that there's always a time and a place. So
Yeah.
I guess there is that feeling sometimes, you know, you're going to be put on the spot. But the way that I've dealt with it is I've basically said to people, if I feel like reading somebody or if I feel like answering their
Yeah.
question, I will. But if it's a night off for me, because I can't work all the time, I
No.
can't be open all the time. So if it is a night off, I'll just say, you know
Yeah.
what, that's a really good question. Maybe if you could just send me an email and I'll meditate, I'll see if I can get an answer for you. But
Yeah.
right now I'm just on my off time and I just need to have a little break.
Yeah. One of
Because
the things we say is like the karmic debt. Like, as if you're giving messages to somebody and you're doing all these spiritual things for somebody, like there's a karmic debt card that comes into play. Like, there's the give and the take, and that if it isn't satisfied with the karmic debt, then the return on their investment is going to be for them in a different way. And we don't always want that to be that for them,
right,
right? So the
right. So
imbalance.
that's kind of it's a careful balance.
Mhm.
And another thing, like you learn a lot of things along the way. And for me, giving readings away, so like doing giveaways for readings was something that spirit told me that that wasn't the right thing to do because of that exchange. That energy exchange has to happen. Because if people, what I found when people got free readings is that they would like, it's different if somebody calls in, it's like a 5 minute talk. And that, like, for me, that's, I'm giving my time and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
But when people came for full readings and they were free or somebody else even paid for them, sometimes they weren't ready to hear the message. So
Uh,
it almost felt like you're doing the reading, but it's not really having the effect that it should. And it is, I think it is in part due to that energy exchange that should
yep.
happen, so that not only is the person ready to hear it and be there and feel it and be ready for change, but
Hmm.
also the reader feels like their work is, they're being rewarded in a way, or they're
Yeah.
there's a balance. And
Yeah.
if the balance isn't struck, it can leave either person, not just the reader, but it can leave either
Exactly.
person feeling very fatigued or very down or not, just not feeling right about things. So that energy exchange is important. And I've met lots of readers that don't it, maybe they don't quite understand that in the beginning, or they feel like they should give more because of the work they're in. And I found that that's not really helpful for them on any level as far as wellness, because it takes from you. So
Yeah.
so yeah, the free reading thing, that was my learning. Now and then I what I do instead of giving away free readings in that
Mhm.
sense is if somebody contacted me and they wanted something for a charity or something, that's a little different, you know, again. But yeah, we all have our little lessons in this work.
Yeah.
And I've had my fair share.
Yeah, it's a good lesson because there's a lot of light workers and spirit workers in this group. And I think that question was really important because I felt you had a grasp on it. And I think that that was one of the things that getting the mindset of is that you are giving an energy exchange. This is your career. This is like
Yeah.
something that you do and you go and you, you know, you engage with people you've been gifted that as your gift, the same as a carpenter with his
Yeah.
tools, and the a mechanic with his repairs and all this stuff. We just it's just a little different when you see dead
Well,
people and
you provide a service. You
you
do,
do.
like, so you provide a service and this is your work. And I understand in the spiritual world, people are afraid to talk about money. They're
Yes.
afraid to say the word money,
The
or I
abundance
charge
factor.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
the thing is that we have many forms of exchange. Money happens to be one of them. And we are the ones as people that put all the judgment on money.
I
Money,
know.
money doesn't hate or love you. Money isn't gonna, cut you off in traffic or anything like that.
No.
Money's not
Yeah.
a jerk. Money's
No.
just a tool. And
Exactly.
so that's where I think we get mixed up. We all, in order to continue to do our work, we all have to be supported. And if we had another form of exchange on this earthly plane, then we would probably use that. But unfortunately, we all still have to eat and look after our families. And to
Exactly.
continue to do the good work that we do have to charge. And
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people, they're afraid to talk about, but it's important because you set your worth in this world.
Yeah.
You set your worth. And if you can't do that, no one will ever see your worth or value it.
That's exactly right. I knew you would have the right answer on that. I felt like that we've been dealing a lot with that, and a lot of different light workers, they really do struggle. And I felt like, coming from someone who is respected in the field, and you probably dealt with this a lot starting out, and you've kind of found your rhythm in it. It's nice to hear it and to reaffirm for people that this is something that is okay.
It is
It's
okay.
okay.
And
And do you, yeah.
I was just going to say, the thought that there is not enough money, we in the Maritimes, we deal with this like mentality that there's not enough money to go around, or I don't have enough money. And I think you would find many people, it's where they distribute their money that can be an issue sometimes. But there is actually enough money in this world for every single one of us. It's a perception. And now, especially as we move into an age where money is electronic, if you think about it on an energy level, there's absolutely enough money for everyone, but it's our mentality sometimes that can hold us back.
Yeah, it's really, really important. I'm so glad that you talked about this, because it's, like I said, it's a big conversation in the energy field, working, healing and spiritual world now. And it's nice to know that we're treating it as such. It's becoming so respected that we have to also respect ourselves, to know that we're valued enough to make that an important part of our job. So when you first started, so you told your family that you see them, you've talked about it, and then now you decide, okay, I'm going to do this for a business. I'm going to put my business card, say psychic medium, and what do I do next? Like, how did that transition for you? How did that work out?
It was, in the beginning, it was kind of crazy because I was a public school teacher, and I had this fear that parents were going to find out or something that I was doing this, and they were going to think it was a terrible thing.
And your
So
kids you would have been a great teacher, because they would have been terrified to do anything wrong. They're like, oh my God, Laura's going to know what's going on with me. What the heck is happening?
I really wish I had tuned into that when I was teaching. I probably could have used it, like, you wait.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to do up my card pull here and see who did their homework tonight. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see inside my crystal ball, Yeah, no, I really wish that I had been more, I guess, looking at my younger self, I wish I could say to my younger self, it's okay. It's okay to be yourself. And you can't ask anybody, especially your students, to be themselves and be confident in that if you can't be yourself. So in the beginning, I wasn't really, I was doing things publicly, but I wasn't sharing with coworkers, and I wasn't really sharing with people unless I asked. And thankfully, my friend, that we were kind of doing things together, and we decided together, okay, we're going to start this business. And we were doing readings together for a long time. And she was a great promoter. Oh my gosh. Like, business cards everywhere. She'd go to the bus stop and be leaving them, like sticking them in the sides of the bus shelter, and like posters everywhere. And she was so good at it.
But you need that yin and yang, you know what I mean? Because if you were both like that, it would have been competitive and you were trying to all get your ideas, but it's nice to have that kind of balance of doing.
And she was very much like, we are doing this. And here's me in my little, Moses house. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do it.
I'm not quite out there, but I'm just going to be on the card and show up with you.
Yeah. I'll just stand there, but the readings, we did like kind of in tandem readings. We were back and forth, and they went really, really well. And then we started getting group readings, and group readings are like, if you think about it, there's 10 to 15 people there, and then they're telling people. So we were really busy with group readings, and really busy going to New Brunswick. We had a wellness center there that we were working at, and so it just kind of expanded. It was mostly word of mouth. We did a few events, but I can't really tell you how it like just started. I think we just started like most people do. We picked a name for a business, and we got business cards, and we just started talking. And that's the thing, you can't be as worried as I was about some people finding out. I knew there was no way we could be quiet, because we wouldn't have any business. So you have to be able to be okay with what you're doing too. And that was another big from the universe for me, to be okay with everything that I am.
It's a gift, right? I mean, just like singing or, whatever people do, it's a gift, and to deny it is only hurting you. And it's just like, as your grandmother came to you and said, if you don't do this, it's going to be harder. So you think it's hard in the moment, trying to like, I'm just going to do this reading on the side quietly. Maybe nobody will notice what I'm doing. But in the meantime, if you didn't do that at all, you would be so much more angst, because the universe keeps leading you to it. And if you're fighting it, it's going to be like a battle, right? Like you're uphill, right?
That's the thing. I had to learn so many things in order for this to be okay, for it to fit into my life. Now, granted, I think my great grandmother had a harder time, because it just wasn't a time where you knew what to do, or you couldn't just Google something, so she didn't know.
The Britannica out, like, hello.
Encyclopedias.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't even know. Would you find a book on psychic stuff in the library? I don't know. Anyways.
Probably burned.
Yeah, probably.
I'm watching for those witches coming for the books.
Yeah. Who's looking at all those witchy books over there? I'm gonna get them.
You have a pseudonym library card, just so they wouldn't find you.
Yeah.
My name is Jane Doe. Yeah.
I had to learn like the grounding and the aura cleansing and all that stuff. I had to get that stuff down pat, because I was so sensitive. I was teaching, and I go into schools, and I just feel like psychically attacked, so I had to learn all this stuff, because my channel was wide open. And I don't know, you maybe know what this feels like, especially after you go through a big shift, and all of a sudden you're wide open, and it feels like everybody's energy, you can feel everybody at once. And it's almost like it's not attacking you, but it feels like it is. It feels like, oh my God, that person just had a fight with their mother, and that person just was sick this morning, and that person's pregnant, and it just feels like an assault of information. So I really had to do my research, and I had to figure out my energetic self. And I think that's so important for anybody that's moving into this work, because the more you know yourself, and the more you know how to balance your energetic self and your spiritual self, I think the better off you do. Because if you can't stay grounded in this work, I've seen people just kind of dip their toe in and then run away, because they haven't found a way to ground themselves and to stay okay within it. And that's so important, to keep your sense of reality in this, because there's a lot of gifted people out there, but they lose themselves in the work. And so I had to figure out how I was gonna, make this fit into my life.
And to know that it's okay to feel cluttered. I call it like my brain, it's like cluttered. But it's okay to feel that way, and know that if you have the tools to relieve yourself of that, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like you can get rid of it. There's ways to get rid of it. And
Yeah.
it's not to run from it, just to process it and to
Yeah.
cleanse it, and then you don't feel quite so, and because I think like what you said, your grandmother had been diagnosed with mental health issues. And I oftentimes believe that mental health issues was just not knowing how to cleanse some of all the things coming at them from back in those times when people were so sensitive, and they didn't know how to do that, and they didn't, and there have so many other barriers that it processed potentially as mental illness when sometimes it wouldn't have been.
Exactly. And I think if any of us today having these conversations, we're having these conversations, 80 years ago, I think it would have been a much different reaction from people. And so absolutely, I don't know that there's a lot of things that we kind of put in that mental health category, but we don't get an energy education. We don't get a spiritual education. um it's so
Heck, we
I
don't
think,
even get budget education, and that should be in the education. Come on.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, empathy, compassion. I mean, we
Yeah.
have so many distractions now. And
Yeah.
I was just listening to what you said, and that it's okay to feel cluttered and it's okay to process. But the processing is something that people are missing because they're distracted by, the phone or computer or
Video.
whatever else. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think we're in a time where there's a lot of mental health issues, but I don't think we're actually giving ourselves the chance to be okay.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't think
just,
we're giving ourselves all the right, we don't have the right ingredients for mental health unless we're really working on it.
and sometimes what I worry about a little bit too is that we cover up the symptoms instead of dealing with the root of the issue. And sometimes that's where the real nugget is, right? Like
Yeah.
that's where you can find out if it's a gift that you have that needed to bloom, or if it really is something like, as some kind of neuron transmitting differently in your brain that needs that versus this work
Yeah.
needing to be done, right? And that's where it gets a little bit hard. And you're right, we do lose a lot of light workers just because they can't process, because they're so sensitive. Do you have children, Laura? Do you have
I
children?
have two.
Are
Yep.
do they share your gift?
They are both very sensitive and they both see and hear things. I've tried really hard. Now they're 13 and 9. So I've tried really hard to keep things simple for them because there's always a balance with kids. I mean, you
Yeah.
want to explain, but you don't want to scare them. You
Yeah.
don't, but we've tried to create a really, I guess, accepting environment of whatever they're feeling and going through. And both of them have on many occasions come to me and said, "Oh, I saw this and I saw that and I see this and that." And it's interesting. I I I think sometimes that we as parents are put in these positions to learn all about this stuff so we can help our kids.
Yeah, and
So,
to help others out there, and
oh,
it's like
absolutely.
transitions and stuff. Like, were any of your kids, did they get because we have a number of people that have reached out to us that have like their kids have anxiety because of
Yeah.
they don't know how to process their emotion. They don't understand that they feel these feelings and can't process it. Did your kids have a little bit of that when they?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all sensitive souls in this house. So,
Yeah.
so my partner, Kim, she doesn't have anxiety, at least not the same as we do. So she's found it really hard being around all of us because even my dog has anxiety. So
You're like, is it the moons? Is it the stars? Is
yeah,
it the full? What's going on
it could be
here?
anything, right? And
Could be,
we
yeah.
know, listen, we know when it's a full moon in my house
Oh
because
my
everybody is
gosh, I
off.
know, me too. It's like everybody's,
Everybody's off.
yeah,
But
no.
yeah, no, we definitely have some anxiety stuff going on. Everybody expresses it a little bit differently. But it really is a high sensitivity. And just even knowing that, it can be kind of comforting. It gives you kind of a framework to deal with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have food sensitivities and the whole bit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
That
yeah.
does happen a lot. What are some of your tips for grounding? Like, what are some of your tips for your kids and maybe yourself? Because I know we have a lot of people that are so interested in finding like, what are the tips to help us process this gift? Like, what do you use?
Well, the big one for kids is nature, because you could do it without really telling them what you're doing. So it's kind
Yeah.
of
Touch
awesome,
that
right?
tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go sit by those trees over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think a big one's nature. Just an example, my kids, when they'd it was hard for them. They go back and forth between here and their dad's. And so when I get them back, they
Mhm.
need a little grounding, right? So we used to
Yeah.
take them when the weather was good, we take them to the beach, have a little fire on the beach. And it used to bring them right back down, like calm them down, and they're ready to start the week with me. So we did that when we could. Obviously, you can't do that all the time,
Oh.
but nature's a big one for kids. And then I have sort of a certain kind of group of crystals that each of them have in
Yeah.
the room. They each have a salt lamp in the room. We use essential oils. We put rose water in their bath water. So there's lots of things you can do. And of course, like the good old sage, we're always smudging
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And then there's the actual teaching. So my youngest, he doesn't quite understand everything, but we talk about deep breathing. We talk about pretending you're a tree with tree roots. And when he goes to school, protecting himself in a purple egg. He has his own purple egg.
Oh,
And he
okay.
tells me about his purple egg all the time. And he says, oh, somebody tried to crack it today, but it didn't crack all the way. And then I fixed it. And
Oh, so
so,
you tell him to put the purple light around himself
yeah,
and to treat it as like a barrier to
yeah,
that energy. Oh, that's a great idea.
yeah.
And,
And
and
he
so he
says,
does tell you when he cracked, people try to get into it and he does know. So that's really nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he'll say, oh, so and so tried to crack my egg, but I fixed it. I got it in time. You
Oh,
know,
that's awesome.
and they know that they can call on people in our lives that have passed for help. And so we have some pretty interesting conversations around here.
I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And my son's all on this. Like my youngest is all over this thing about ghosts lately, so he's always asking me about ghosts. And I'm like, Luke, you know that's what I do. I talk to ghosts. He goes,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
You need to
So
do like the Halifax ghost walk where you
yeah,
walk around and do the
yeah,
ghost walk with them. It might
yeah.
be extra good. When you go, let me know because I'll go in your group.
Oh yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
like, well, Laura's in that group. I'm definitely doing the extra bumped
Yeah.
up ghost
Let's
walk.
talk to
Yeah.
those ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. They might not want me to go on the ghost walk. I might make all the ghosts happy and they might leave or something.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But no, that's really nice. Those are some really good tools because we do have a lot of people that mention like what kind of crystals, what like for example, like what would you use for crystals? Do you like use obsidian or like amethyst or quartz or what do you like?
Well, when my kids were little, they loved rose quartz.
Mhm.
So that was one. My oldest, he used to have to kiss that rose quartz every night before he went to sleep. It was so
They're
cute.
so ritualistic. Like they just
Yeah.
kids are just they love that repetition.
Oh, and they love the rose water. Like they spray it in the room at night before they go to sleep because they want to have good dreams, and they're so
Oh, okay.
cute.
Do you make
Uh,
your own rose water? Is that something like you make with the
I
your
haven't made it, but you absolutely can. Like I know you can. But I usually Superstore sells rose water.
Mhm.
I found out, and
Oh,
it's
good.
yeah, and so I use that a lot. And the crystals, I make sure at least. I mean, in their rooms they have obsidian and rose quartz and a few others, but at least if your child has clear quartz and a darker stone like an
Yep.
obsidian and something else that can add a little bit of lightness to the energy. So an amethyst and a rose quartz and your clear quartz and your dark stone are kind of like your basics.
Yeah,
And
it's like the emergency kit like that you keep
yes,
with the kids. It's the
yeah,
emergency.
exactly.
Yeah.
That amethyst and rose quartz are really good stones for kids.
Yeah.
If you have a teenager, aventurine's really good.
Yeah.
And I like red jasper for grounding,
Yeah.
for like a protective kind of grounding. Yeah.
Hmm. No, that's a good one. I use a soda light with my son too. Like he likes the like because it's for athletics and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
helps. It helps with that. They think it's like I'm gonna have a good game because I have this stone,
It's
you
so
know.
that's so funny. Yeah, I know. We went
Yeah.
through all that stuff with my kids where they had to have their lucky stone and
I
yeah.
know. And it starts to be then you get like you have to it's like the goldfish that you oh my God, I lost a stone. I gotta go get that exact stone at the
Yeah.
store and it's gotta match like
Yeah.
you
What,
know,
what are we gonna do?
Blinky the fish is but now it's the crystal you're matching it up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I know.
it's a
That's
different
why
world.
I buy them in bulk, so we have all kinds here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, you always have to go to that gem show or something. There's that big
Yeah.
gem show every year or something. So now I have a question for you. When you first started doing groups, did you find that weird going from like say like you and me, like a
Yeah.
two-person thing, and then all of a sudden you get like 20, 30, 40, 50 faces looking at you going, oh my God, I'm summoning all my spirits to speak with you. And I would like you to give me a message. Oh my God. And did that like freak you out the first time? Was it like a little bit of like, I'm just going to turn around and pretend to get a glass of water while I hyperventilate into this bag?
It's so funny because I'm a pretty like nervous person usually. But when it comes to this stuff, it just always flowed for me and it felt really good. And I I hate to be one of those people that people hate, like, because it wasn't hard for me. But the group readings, I'll say, were very different. So very different from a private reading, different vibe altogether. And I had to be very careful because the first couple group readings, I didn't really have the energy part of it down pat. So I'd be calling in spirits and like, for 20 people, there'd be like 70 spirits show up. And I'd be like, oh, like, what am I going to do? I can't talk. It's too confusing, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm a little bit, I know how to manage it a little bit better. It's like, I kind of like to think of it like I make them form a line, which sounds silly, but that is what I do. And the highest priority comes first. So I'm a little bit better with it now, but it's a totally different vibe. And in a private reading, I can say anything because it's just you and me. But with a group, I really am I'm very careful. I don't want to say anything that's going to upset anybody or that they don't want to share. And so the messages that come from spirit, most of the time I trust it's okay. But if even anything's a little bit off, I found I had to take somebody aside and tell them aside. So just a totally different vibe. And the group readings are like parties. It feels like a party. I don't know many parties that you go to and you laugh and you cry.
And you can't drink, and you tell them like you don't drink, and because it's better for the messages if you don't have alcohol. And then having these parties.
So what I say to people is I say, look, depending on how many people are there, I'm going to take up about 2 to 3 hours of your time doing readings. And we're going to do it all in a group and it's going to be great fun, but you can drink when I leave.
That's a really, they want the most optimal portal to be open, right? So you don't want to clutter it up and clog it up and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I'm like the police now, because I did a group reading a couple years ago, and I just happened to be out in the kitchen and I noticed this girl pouring a drink, and I was like, nah, not in my group reading,
only if it's a virgin cocktail. Can you bring that out here? Exactly.
I think it's cool, like when people can do like these kind of parties where they can read people and they don't care, people drink or whatever. And if they can do that, that's good for them. I just found it just never worked well for me, and it messes up the whole vibration feels wrong. So
alcohol is the lowest vibration. Then it's coffee. And then it's like those two are those bad things for vibrations. So when you first started, I'm curious to say, so when you first started, you said they all came like one big like football team at you, all the spirits. And so now in your head, do you just say, all of you, I'm asking you to come forward, but I want you to line up in order of importance, and I want you to be orderly and no shoving, like do you just say,
just like
I don't see the spirits like you do. I just have the clear knowing, so in the automatic writing, but I don't have the visual of them, so I'm always so curious, like like, my God, like what does that look like? Does it look like
the teacher comes out in me, single file only. No, I just sometimes I see things and I feel it at the same time. So it felt like an overwhelming amount of energy coming at me all at once. So I knew it was this big group going, oh my God, we can talk, So
Nobody hears me. Oh my
God. So now when I do a group, I kind of envision a ring or a circle around us. And I envision that the circle will open for the spirits that it's most important for them to come forward. And my guides help me with all this. The cool thing is that when you're a reader, a lot of readers know this already because they've learned it. But if you're thinking about like going into this work, you can ask for what you want. you can set your boundaries. You
So it could
don't
be a
have to.
square instead of a ring. It could
Yeah,
be,
but
a couple of levels.
you don't have to put up with being bullied by spirit, because they will take as much as you will give them. So I just decided, like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do it for the right reasons. And I want to help people. I want them to be able to get a clear message and connect with their loved ones. But I can't do that if I've got 50 people talking to me at once.
No, because then
So,
no message is getting through because it's all going to be like
right.
cluttery, right? So,
And I have had those experiences before. Especially, it's funny, you mentioned you're from Newfoundland, and
mhm.
I read this family not too long ago that were from Newfoundland, and all the relatives came in and they were all talking over each other, and
In the Newfoundland accent.
what's that?
Did they have a Newfoundland accent when they did it
Yes.
too? Oh
So
my
here's me.
God.
Now, when people have accents or they speak different languages, I read through feeling. So even if they speak a different language, I can feel them and still deliver a message. But it was almost like, it was like being in a kitchen party, but you couldn't hear anybody's actual conversation, but there was a lot of voices.
Oh my God.
So I think the thing that people forget, or maybe if you're just starting out doing this work and you haven't realized this yet, set your boundaries for spirit, because they will respect your boundaries. They're not like people. They will respect your boundaries. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
People are way more difficult than spirit. And that's the one thing I have to say I just love about my work. If I tell them to stand behind that yellow line, they will stand behind that yellow line because they really
Yeah.
want to talk to me.
And they can go when you say, but the other people are all going to be left there. You're like, oh
Oh, yeah.
God, now I'm like, and they
Yeah.
still want 17 more messages. No.
No, I mean, I take, when I do a group reading, I take people's contact information just in case, because I have had spirit come to me after group
Oh, okay.
readings and
Oh, that's
say,
nice.
like, can you please contact my mom or dad or whatever and tell them this message. So I have had that happen on occasion.
Oh,
So I
that's
make
really wild.
sure I get contact information from people in case, like, somebody didn't, get through, or
Like
some
an urgent
mix up
message.
happened.
Yeah.
So it does happen sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's interesting because I think readers, there's quite an empowerment from coming from knowing that you can build your own experience in this, and that you
Mhm.
can set your own rules with spirit.
Have you ever had an experience? Oh, I should do a little shout out because we're getting some, like, we had some nice people on here tonight. And Amy, I said those questions for you. So I know, I hope that helped you with your kids. And so, hey, everybody, Bonnie and Amy and Linda and Brandon and Patsy and Jacqueline and Sherry. Oh, that's so great. There's lots of people watching. So that's awesome.
Oh, yay.
So has it ever happened that you have, come in front of a group or a reading and you get nothing? Like nothing's coming. I don't know, like they put the shield up and they're like, I'm not giving you anything so that you can't, I'm not going to give away any hints, but then it also shuts them down and you don't get anything. Has that ever happened?
Oh my God, that is like the anxiety dream
I know,
of the
right?
reader, right?
I
Like that's like the
know.
nightmare.
That's when you get the cards out and you're like, well, let's start here. We're going to go this
Yeah,
way.
we'll just get some cards. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get that
Actually,
rose water out. Woo!
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I
Yeah.
need to stage again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, that was a big anxiety when I started doing readings.
Yeah.
And especially when me and my business partner decided we weren't going to do them together anymore, and I was on my own. Wow,
The
stress.
crutch. You didn't have the crutch. It
I
was
didn't
like,
have the crutch
oh.
anymore.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was I told myself that if I didn't get anything, I would just give them their money back and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, but I'll recommend you to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this idea in the back of my head that this was going to happen at some point, and it never happened.
Oh, that's amazing.
So my whole theory on that is
Mm-hmm.
that people are drawn to you when they need to hear something from you. And the universe has already set something in motion so
Mm-hmm.
that they come to you, that something is triggered inside of them that says, I want a reading from that person.
Mm-hmm.
It is set up before you even begin. It's already been done. So I've never had that issue. There have been people that have, like, I've read them and they haven't really enjoyed the message that I gave them.
Yeah.
But I often will say to people, I'm really sorry that this isn't what you thought it was, but this is the message I was given for you. And I just open my channel and I just talk. I don't know you. I don't know who you are, who you're connected to or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what I was told to give you. And I know what I do. And I know that maybe the way I said it might not be exactly fitting your perception, but I'm not wrong. So
Exactly. I'm not wrong. I
I'm
always
not
say, how I always describe it is like, the universe gives you what you need, not always what you want. And
yeah,
there's that whole want and need factor in all things, right? In all circumstances. And so sometimes think, like, I know you've been through divorce, I've been through divorce. And at the time you think, oh crap, like this sucks. Like, what the hell? I've got all this chaos. And then what you don't realize is that the universe gave you that purposely because that wasn't your path, and you, like, your path is moving to your next thing, which was going to be beautiful and really open up more parts of who you are. And in the moment, and that's what I always say to people, in the moment chaos is crappy and you think that it's this is a permanent state, but once you know that you can move through it, it's just. And I think that's why people who can give people messages, there's like this little like, okay, there's like a light at the end of this tunnel, it's not going to be all so heavy and dark and stuff.
exactly. Well, chaos is a couple things. Chaos is temporary
Yes.
and chaos is necessary. So even in nature, chaos happens when systems need to reorganize because they're not working anymore. So marriage, if we use that as an example,
Mm-hmm.
marriage is a system. And when it doesn't work anymore, chaos ensues and it breaks everything down to the foundation. It
Yeah.
demos the whole thing right down to
Mm-hmm.
the base, right down to the ground.
Yeah.
And then you have to start over. And
Mm-hmm.
starting over, it seems a little like it's unknown, so people are scared, but it's actually perfect because you're never going to be the person that you came here to be unless you allow yourself to start over again and again and again.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things, maybe being part of the light working, kind of mindset, is that you have like a trust that shit's gonna just kind of move along and gonna work out, even though it's like you're gonna experience it still is like anxiety and still is like a little bit like,
Yeah,
okay, this, I know this is moving past and this is moving through, but then it's eventually gonna. And I think that that's even when you get it in the moment. I think maybe like when you first started, I don't know if when you were out of your marriage or when you were first, like, did that happen more? Did your transition to your work happen within your marriage, or was it after your marriage stopped?
I've been doing readings, let's see, let me think. I was doing readings about 6 to 7 years before my marriage ended. And he was pretty supportive of everything, and it wasn't that, but I changed as a person. So
Yeah.
coming out of the marriage, I'm a much better reader, I believe, than I used to be. Not just because of what I experienced, but because I'm just more confident in who I am now. I know more about who I am, and I feel stronger in that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, for me anyway, this work has evolved and changed over time because it's grown with me, and I really try hard to allow the growth to happen. So I feel like I feel more confident in my work more now so than then.
Yeah. And is it funny because when you do have a knowing, right? I'm sure there's times through, because I just want to reassure people who are even, going through it, even as the light workers, it's like, it's okay that you knew it and it took you some time to digest it,
Yeah.
to make those brave moves,
Oh
and everybody takes time to digest and make brave moves. And as people say to you or me or whoever, has, oh, you're intuitive, well, you should have known that wasn't going to work out, why did you bother doing that?
Oh yeah,
You know
I
what I
get
mean?
that. Yeah, I get that
By
all the
now.
time. But
Yeah.
but what I say to people too is that I'm allowed, and I should be allowed to enjoy all the blessings in my life just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I look at all these challenges as blessings because I came out of it learning so much.
Lessons. They're the
And
lessons. Yeah.
I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't
Yeah.
trade any of it. We're all here for soul growth. So
Yeah.
you gotta do the work.
Well, it's like we had Ann Perry on last weekend, and like she said, before we come down to earth, we actually make a code, we have a thing that we're asking, what are we going to learn in this lifetime?
Yep.
What is our purpose? And so when doing that, it's not like a bed of roses, like that. In order to learn all the things that you need to learn to be the best person you are with your gifts and all the things that you had to walk through some of those things to awaken you to maybe be more.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
who changes when they're like comfortable and happy? If
Yeah.
everybody's all like content and comfortable, you're
Yeah.
not going to change and grow. That's why sometimes this adversity or chaos, or however you want to frame it, these things happen in your life, but you never would have moved if they didn't
No.
happen that way. You
It
wouldn't have.
makes you look at everything different though, don't you find? When something swirls or bad happens, I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be learning here? Like,
Yeah.
what's happening? Where's my lesson? I'm looking for my lesson like a penny on the ground,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh God. And it's so, but that's a better way to be. And when you reach that stage, and I'm sure because you obviously have reached that stage too, where you're more attentive to the swirl. And it gives you more peace. Like there's this
Mhm.
peace that comes with it that's hard to describe. And
Yeah.
so I hope that in your journey that you're, because people come to you
Mhm.
when they're swirling a lot of
Uh,
times,
oh,
right?
always.
Nobody's
Yeah.
going to go, I'm having an awesome life. I'm going to go see Laura and find out how much more awesome I can have. Like
Yeah.
they're going to be like, frick, my life is
Yeah.
shitty. What
Everything's a
I need some
mess.
advice.
That's why I'm here. Well,
Yeah.
I know it does feel like that sometimes, that when people are at the end of their rope, that's when they call me.
Yeah.
Um,
You're like the 911, like,
it's like,
of like,
I've tried
hi.
everything else, so this can't hurt, you know?
Yeah. You're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm going to be your last attempt or effort, I'm going to be your best because
Oh,
that's going to give
always,
you some advice.
always. Yeah.
And
No, I feel like people are absolutely pulled to me like when they're ready to hear whatever has to come through me. So,
yeah,
it's okay. And we can joke about it, but I love that. I love that people will be open enough. We're in a time where people are
yeah,
open enough to go, you know what? I have tried everything else, but I haven't gone to a psychic and I think I really need to. Like that's
yeah,
kind of cool.
yeah. I know. I feel like it's bouncing back and forth. I'm like, we should have had a blank third screen to be like, this is the spirit screen. And be like, oh, I know. I'm just joking. And I was teasing Laura. I was like, look at you with the green screen behind you. You've
I
got
know,
like this
right?
background. It's all
Fancy.
fancy. I know.
Can you tell
So
I do a lot of online readings, so I have my spot, right?
yeah, where's the crystal ball? Come on,
Yeah,
show
yeah,
it. You got it there. You got it
yeah. It's your
there. No,
symbol.
yeah, that's good. Now, so what do you have coming up? Do you still do touring? Do you do private readings? Like what's your kind of thing for your journey right now? Where are you at with all this?
Well, right now I do a lot of readings at home here too. People really like the in person, it seems like, but I do a lot of online readings too.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of just refocusing my whole kind of business right now. But if things came up, like we've been talking about doing planning retreats forever, and we're
Hmm.
just
Those
looking
are
for
big.
the right plan, the right place. So
Yep.
this year is kind of a I'll be working a lot, but it's a personal year too. I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling, but probably more for my own self, my own time
All
away.
purposeful traveling. It's all purposeful traveling.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's the thing, that
Yeah.
yourself, like in this
Yeah.
kind of work, you're with people all the time and
Hmm.
trying to help people all the time, and you're always on call in a way. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to get away sometimes. And I think this year it's going to be a year of work, but also a year of trying to recoup too. And I'm writing, but all of my writing is like, it's such a private thing right now, so I might spend some time this year doing that too. And yeah,
It's
I'm kind
it's
of
because
just
it's hard to uncover. It's hard to be it's hard to show because you're showing everybody all their, unveilings, and then you're like, oh, it's great. I've given them all their things. And now it's like, oh my, like
yeah,
maybe I'm supposed to say more about my journey to help other
yeah,
people. Because I think that in talking with you even tonight, there's a lot of people that are scared to tell their family. There's a
it's
lot
true.
of people that are afraid to, don't know how to help their children with their gifts. There's a lot of people who don't know how to charge properly for their things. There's all these things that you're going through, that your advice and your insights, you'd be surprised. There's so much help that you can give just by sharing your journey and
Oh
letting
yeah.
people understand that I had to be brave. I had to step into it. I had to say, these are the things, this is my family, this is my living, this is my message and all this, and this is me. And it's it takes a special spirit to be a special spirit, like you have to it's kind of awesome. So yeah, I definitely think that a big year. Now, where if you could travel, like what's your go-to place? Do you need to be water? Are you like in the mountains or something? Or
I don't know if I have a place. I mean, I love being near the water, but our next trip we're definitely going to Sedona. So
oh my gosh, Tanya. So Tanya's on here. She's watching right now. So Tanya's like, we have got to go down to Sedona because it's like the vibrate, like the spirits, lots of
yeah.
energy and all that kind of stuff. So she wants to take our foundation team for the spirits. We want
Oh,
some kind of special retreats or, you know,
absolutely.
something down there that we want to do. So she'll
Oh,
be
I know
attending.
Kim and I, we think that our plan is probably to go down and scout it out a little bit, but we'd
Yeah.
love to do a retreat in Sedona.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
there's some cool things.
Yeah.
So, hey, we'll have to talk about that because there's definitely some stuff. All these women, they're just, you know, and men too. And my partner is highly intuitive and just lovely. And we're like monkeys. We're picking off the debris. I call it the debris. We're always picking the debris off each other like little monkeys.
Helping each other. That's great. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's like the debris grooming or
That's
something like
awesome.
that. You know, it makes it
Need
kind of
all
fun.
those energy remnants cut off, right?
I know. No, so is your partner intuitive as well? Is she have gifts as well? Yeah.
Yeah, so she's a naturopathic therapist, but she's a Reiki master teacher,
Okay,
a
yeah, yeah.
reflexologist, and does a whole bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, she's very intuitive. So we balance each other really well. We support each other really well, and it's kind of cool, you know. If she's in pain or she's having a hard time with something, I can give her a treatment, or she can give me a treatment. Like
Or
we're
you can lay in the chair and go, I'll read your spirits if you do reflexology on my feet, because that's my
yeah, yeah.
partner does reflexology. It's amazing.
Oh
And I'm
yeah.
just like, oh gosh, this is the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, she was really smart because she got me into all this stuff. So now I'm a Reiki master teacher, and
Yeah.
I did the foot reflexology course, so I
Yeah.
know how to do it. So anyway, yeah, she's smart. She got me into that stuff, so I
Yeah.
can do treatments on her too.
It's the
But yeah,
karmic exchange, Laura. You have to be able to
yes,
give and take. You
it
can't
is.
just be sitting there with your feet up all the time saying, I'm
No,
ready for my
I
foot.
know because I'm like a little bit of a princess, so I absolutely would do that.
Yeah.
If I had the
But
opportunity to like rub my feet.
yeah, exactly. I did the dishes. You can rub my feet.
Yeah.
The one of the things too, though, is I find with light workers, they're constantly wanting to learn. Like, do you feel like that? You're constantly, like, I want to learn more about crystals. I want to learn more about Reiki because all of us on our group, I think we all do Reiki, and so it's just one of these things where we're just like, I just want to learn that thing, or I want to learn that thing, and
Oh
we're
yeah. Well,
training.
that's part of the fun, right? The
Yeah,
curiosity. And I think most of us light workers were forced to heal that wounded child inside of us. And once
yeah,
that child is like out and free spirit and just doing whatever comes their way, we have this curiosity and this like we're just like little sponges and we just want to
yes,
soak up all the information. I kind of got to a place where I spirit has asked me to kind of slow my roll a bit
hmm,
and focus on doing readings and focus on meditating and getting myself kind of reattached because I've been, you know, fell in love with my partner and we've been like floating on a cloud for the past 4 years, so you
yeah.
know.
It
So
happens.
I've been like pulled back down to earth.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's perfect timing for everything. But that is part of this evolvement is this curiosity and this wanting to know everything.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
hard to slow the roll because your roll is so excited. It's like you said, it's like being this 5-year-old child going like, what is this? What does this mean? What is happening? Like, I just
Yeah.
love it. And then, yeah, and it's hard because, you know, our bodies were getting older and like all this, I'm like in total denial. I don't know about you, but started as a light worker, I'm just hopping around outside, want to be outside. And then I'm like, 4 hours later, I'm like, oh my God, what was that? I'm 5? Like, why is this
I'm
happening?
fine.
I'm
Yeah.
actually a leap year baby, so I am really, really young in real life, you know.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, but yeah, I would definitely, I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with us tonight. You've had such amazing things to say. I don't know if you have any wisdom to impart to the group tonight that you just feel like we missed out on talking about. Feel free just to share it, just a tidbit, if whatever view that we didn't touch on that you're hiding in this corner that's just
Oh,
ready to come out like a nugget, you
I'm
know?
hiding this little like yeah. Oh, we talked
I'm
about
hiding
so
my
many.
kitchen. No, it's actually pretty good. It's
Yeah.
pretty good tonight. I slipped in front of the dirty dishes. I'm like this.
That's it, block. Get
Yeah,
out.
exactly. I wear bulky sweaters. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we talked about so many great things. And the biggest thing that if you are somebody that is in this work and you're wanting to go forward and you're wanting to help other people, the biggest piece of advice I have is yes, you are going to help other people, but you need to help yourself. So
Oh,
help yourself, and by helping yourself, by default, you help other people. Because as long as you stay centered in everything that you are, everything that you need, stay centered in that self-care place,
mm-hmm.
you will be able to, you'll have longevity in this work. You'll be able to do your work, help lots of people, and not kind of lose yourself in it. Because I think it's easy to do when you care so much about other people's well-being. So hey, just value what you do, value yourself, and make sure that you stay in that knowledge of what you can do, what you're willing to do, what you want to do, and look after yourself.
Oh, that's really great advice. I know that I think that that's an something that isn't said enough is that in order to care for others, you have to self-care.
Yeah.
It's like I always say, it's like the oxygen mask thing for the airplane. It's like if they always tell you put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help other people. So
That's right.
it's a really, really true thing. So I hope you have some good trips this year. I hope we get to see you again. I'm sure would love to invite you on again. We do once a month, we do a live Zoom panel. So at some point we'd love to invite you on as a special guest, and we pick we're going to be picking 3 members, and we bring them on and we kind of activate them with our panel. So you'll have to come on and be a
Oh,
special guest one time. And
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
those are fun. So yeah, just fun in the path, right? To
Yeah.
have having fun with the gifts. And so I really appreciate your time, Laura. Thank you so much. And it's such a nice thing to get an insight into the mind, body, and spirit of someone living with these gifts, because a lot of people are just kind of unraveling what you've already been blessed to unravel. And so your journey to help them understand is very, very helpful.
Oh,
So I
it's my
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Oh, I appreciate it very much. And you go enjoy the beach and the water view tonight. The full moon's gone, so you're good for a bit and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So thank you again for joining us on special guest activator series at the Spirit Activator Academy. And we hope to teach people just how to live their, best, bright, igniting their brightest light in their journey, and we can all help each other get there. So it's kind of our purpose.
Thanks so much, Lana. This was great.
Oh,
Thank you.
awesome. I know all we need are like tea here, and that would be perfect. No alcohol, just tea, just tea.
Just tea,
Yeah,
special tea.
exactly. So thanks everyone for joining us. I really appreciate you tuning in. And if you're catching us on the replay, just obviously throw a question down. We can come back, and I come back, or the group comes back and helps you out a little bit if you have a curiosity or something. And Laura's website's on there as well. If you want to book a reading with her, the website's right on the link. And I don't have it, Laura. It's Laura Warren
Medium.
medium.com, laurawarrenmedium.com. So
That's
it's
it.
on the links right on the Zoom tonight. So it's great. So we can do this from the comfort of our home, which is so awesome.
Oh, I love it.
I know, me too, technology.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you have a good night, and thanks to all for joining us, and appreciate you. Hope we helped you ignite your light tonight. So, and we'll be seeing you soon. I feel like a retreat's in our future together. So
I think so.
yeah, I think so too. All right. You have a good night. Take care. Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it.
See you later.
Bye.